Hello to everybody watching. Now, today I'm going to actually do an experiment in which I attempt to embody a specific persona using makeup in order to completely change my gender presentation from male to female. Now, I've never done this before. It's a completely new thing. It's relatively, well, it's not rehearsed. It's definitely not rehearsed. It's minimally planned because I want to actually document an experiment to see what happens and see what it's like. So I'm probably just going to waffle most of the way through and just talk about whatever's on my mind at the time. So right now I'm in a rehearsal room in the University of Salford. In fact, I'm going to unplug and turn the laptop round so you can see what's going on. I have the light from the window on my face because, well, frankly, the light in here is absolutely rubbish. It's now about 10 to 11 in the morning on Tuesday, the 20th of July. And seeing as how the first thing, well, I'm doing things with makeup, so the first thing is to take off this t-shirt. So that's that gone. And to tie my hair back. Now, I've realised there are two immediate problems I have to deal with whilst doing this. The first of which is to do with my eyesight. My eyesight is pretty dreadful. I normally wear bifocals, but at the moment, as I often do when I'm doing any kind of performance, I'm wearing contact lenses. Now, contact lenses give me no close vision, so I have to wear reading glasses when I'm using contact lenses. It's not going to be such a problem here doing the broad brush strokes with the overall makeup, but when it comes to fiddly stuff like eye makeup, it's going to be quite tricky. The other thing that's going to be tricky as well is this tuft of hair here, because I'm not shaving it off. I am told, I'm not shaving it off because there's a mole under there that becomes inflamed and quite angry and sore when I shave it, so I don't. So I've been informed the best thing to do is to glue it down with a Pritt stick, which it seems ridiculous, but let's try it. Not entirely sure it's done any good, but it appears to not be moving. Let's see if I can look at it a little more closely. It is moving, but we'll cope with it. We'll see what we can do. Now then, I'm using notes from a video by a trans woman called Brandy Nitti, and it's called How to Pass, because passing is a thing within the transgender community, which I'll probably waffle on about while I'm doing this. So the first thing to do, apparently, is to try and cover 5 o'clock shadow. Now, I don't have 5 o'clock shadow, but I do have a little shadow because I shaved this morning, but I shaved with some absolutely cheap rubbish razors. So what I need to do is cover the blue. Now, the blue as in the bluey grey that comes from bristles. The correct way to do this apparently is to use orange concealer, but I went, the very nice young lady in Superdrug couldn't find any orange concealer. So apparently, and this again feels quite ridiculous, red lipstick will do the trick. So I'm going to paint red lipstick very, very gently on my moustache area. As you can see, the lighting here is rotten. I'll check it with the proper mirror soon. On the moustache area and over my little tuft and around the bottom of the chin. I don't know if that would work or not, but we'll see. So, why am I doing this? Right, well, for those who aren't aware of my PhD project, what I'm doing is looking at the concept of identity. What is the true self, spiritually, and so on. And the concept of fluid identity. And I'm doing this through performance personae. Now, 3 of these personae emerged relatively spontaneously. These being Baron Sam, Tim the Excited Mythologer, and Guru Topsky. Now, I realised when I started looking into Jungian psychology that they actually fit 3 parts of Jung's 4-part model of the psyche. Or they could be argued to fit those things. So, Guru Topsky being the outer persona, because I understand that people who don't know me personally actually see somebody quite sort of mystical and weird and a bit strange and unworldly and so on. Sort of super clever but a bit odd, that kind of thing. And that's pretty good Topsky, to be fair. People who do know me would see what I would consider the unindividuated self, which is Tim, the Excited Mythologer, who he's quite ADHD. He's easily distracted, totally sinks into mythology, gets very, very excited about things, forgets social cues and good social behaviour and so on, and it's generally like me with the brakes taken off. Normal me, normal daily show with the brakes taken off. And the shadow is Baron Sam. I'll get to Baron Sam in a minute. Okay, so I've covered the beard, theoretically, with this pink stuff. Let's have a look in a proper mirror. Yeah, okay. It's pink. It's bright. It's red. It's pink. It's okay. So next, apparently, comes the foundation. Now, I've got to squirt it onto my hand and then use a sponge, which is this thing, to cover the face, starting at the beard, the lower half of the face. Okay, so, let's do that. Good, there's that. Lasting Perfection Matte Foundation. The very nice young lady in Superdrug assures me that everything I'm using is vegan and cruelty free, which is good. Actually went into Superdrug thinking I'm going to get some very funny looks asking for makeup. But then decided to completely brazen it out and just ask. And I asked a young woman, and she was incredibly helpful. She was absolutely lovely. I seem to have. Well, I'm putting it on, but it's really hard in the light to see. So maybe I need some more. It seems to have got rid of the pink anyway, but it hasn't got rid of the tuft in the middle, so that has not been covered up at all. So anyway, Baron Sam. I was talking about Baron Sam. Baron Sam is definitely the shadow. They are an ambiguously gendered, strange creature. Sexual obsessed, very filthy, very much a performance figure. Very much a queer performance figure as well. As a middle-aged married man, that bit of myself tends not to come out very much. As far as I'm aware, I could be completely wrong. So we have those three personae, those three ways of looking at me writ large. I'm just going to check on this. It actually works. It's a lot easier with the mirror. So those three ways of looking at me writ large. And I realised that I needed a fourth. Because as well as self, persona and shadow, Jungian psychology has the animus or anima. Now, the theory works that if you are male, you have an anima, a female balancing aspect, if you like, a female part of yourself, a female self, perhaps. And if you are female, you have a naturally balancing male self, the animus. Now, queer theory me is rather dubious here, because what happens if you're transgender? What happens if you are non-binary? Or what happens if you are, I don't know, bigender, like a friend of mine is bigender. I wasn't aware how long this is taking. This is taking 15 minutes already. This is fascinating. It's taking quite a long time. So anyway, that kind of doesn't really work, but I've kind of attempted to rethink the idea of the animus or anima into the capital S soul as a naturally arising balance to one's normative upbringing, perhaps. The interesting question for me is if gender, as Judith Butler says, and Ben Spouts, is a learned thing, then how do we know if one is transgender, for instance? How does one know that one has learnt the wrong thing, learnt the wrong technique, perhaps? Okay, I'm looking in my little mirror here, and this is actually covered quite well, despite the wrinkles, including the wrinkles probably. So we'll start working on the highlight. So there's another concealer, and then I dab out concealer. So let's have a look. It's this concealer, isn't it? Yes. Which goes under eyes, the chin, side the chin, filter. Oh, right, I see. So it's the areas that I want to lighten up. Now watching Brandy, she proper smudges it on, so we'll throw it on and see what happens. I will do a link to the video underneath in the comments section when I do it. So there, above cheekbone, so it's sort of here, here, right, and there's chin, on the chin there, I'll put it there. Filter a bit there, and down the front of the nose. Apparently, that's a thing, and on the forehead. So it's to lighten up areas on the forehead. So, and then dab them. This is an interesting thing to me because I used to wear makeup when I was in my teens, but never to this extent. It was very much the, that's very mucky. It was very much the, let's try it. What do I call it? The New Romantic period. Now, when I did wear makeup, even at like 15, 16, during that New Romantic period, this was like 1980, 81, 82. I never went to this extent. I never went to this kind of thing. It was very much a matter of bunging on some eyeshadow and some liner, and that was pretty much it. It was interesting though as well because it didn't have anything to do with gender presentation. I was a boy. I was a boy wearing makeup, and that was, as far as I'm concerned, the right thing and the perfectly fine thing. Oh, under cheek area. Under cheek area? Under cheek area. Right. So I wasn't being female like I'm attempting to be here. It's very messy. I suppose it could be better with practice. We'll see. Okay. It's okay using the same sponge as well, it seems. Okay, right. So I wasn't attempting to be female. I was being male, but I had a very odd gender presentation. I'm just going to switch those lights back on. And I was often mistaken for a girl, which was not actually that surprising, really, when you think about it. But it makes me wonder about what gender is and what gender presentation is. I've always considered, I've considered myself, as far as I'm aware, a cisgender man. Now, I have a friend who's a trans woman who doesn't consider me a cisgender man, and we've never actually had a proper conversation about this. It was just mentioned in a Facebook quote, Facebook comment. But I found that interesting in that what defines one's gender, what defines one's, and it's complicated and tricky. So I consider myself a cisgender man. Apparently, I'm doing contour and highlight now. Some contours with a dark brown and a big brush to hollows of cheeks and blend upwards. So, okay, so while I'm doing that, and it's up here and under here and so on. Okay, so I consider myself, generally speaking, a cisgender man. I was assigned male at birth because I was born with a penis. And I'm perfectly happy with that definition, that's fine. It's apparently if you contour around here it looks less masculine. Not entirely sure, but we'll see. It's to do with facial shapes. But I've often considered myself to be what's known as gender non-conforming, in that while I consider myself male, I don't consider myself as conforming to what a male is supposed to do, what is a man supposed to do and be in our society. So, for instance, with roles, I've been a house husband, and that's fine. Let's do that under here as well, a little shadow under here. Right, so I've been a house husband. I can knit and sew and cook and look after babies, but at the same time I can do the garden and I can make things out of wood and all that kind of things. And when I was in my teens, my girlfriend said she liked me because I wasn't like most men, which is okay. I'm assuming that was to do with behaviour again. Right, this goes at the side of the nose. It might be a bit heavy. So to bring the nose forward, I'm not sure a nose like this really needs to come much further forward, but that's okay. A little bit underneath, really. So let's blend that. I think it's a bit much. So anyway, why Athena? Well, I originally chose the name Thena because she's the goddess of wisdom, and my balancing anima person is the wise intellectual part of who I am as a person. So I decided to use the name Athena, which became Thena to separate her from the goddess as well. So let's do a bit of highlight now, apparently. Brush that on here, pop it on. Right. Down the front of the nose and under the eyes. Right. And double checking with mythology, actually. She works very well as an anima because she's born fully formed directly out of the father Zeus's head, which is pretty much screams anima if you are into archetypal psychology and Jungian psychology. So we can pretty much be sure that she is a good anima figure. So that's why I chose the name. Now, I'm trying not to make this clownish at all, but it's actually coming out quite, it seems in this light anyway, quite black, almost heavily contrasting, which is interesting. Let's have a look in this smaller mirror. So actually, in the smaller mirror, it actually looks relatively clean like. It does look like me wearing makeup, but so I'm looking like a relative, I look like my grandmother to be honest, a relatively older woman. And this is the thing, I don't want to look like a drag queen. I don't want to do comedic. As a balancing thing between the the other personae. The other personae are quite comedic. Right, I need to put fixie spray on, apparently. Fixie spray first. So, the other personae are quite comedic. So, I mean, Sam is, can't see that, there it is. Sam is quite comedic. Deliberately and obviously so, because Sam is just pure filth. Tim is quite comedic with his mad rants and just distractions and wandering off and total excitement about things. And even Guru Tovsky is quite comedic in that he's such a ridiculous hippie and takes himself so seriously when he's stood on his head and doing some daft meditation. So, I need Athena to be not comedic, to be serious. She's an academic. Right, so first of all, I do my eyebrows. Now, I've got this pencil. Is this it? No, that's not it. I've got this funny kind of felt tip thing the young lady in Superdrug gave me, which is a little kind of pencil thingy. It's got, you can see that, it's a jaggedy edge. So I'm going to use the mirror for this and gently see. When I was a slender young goth, after the New Romantic period, which wasn't actually that long, it was a bit smudged and heavy. I plucked my eyebrows to pointy, and they've never really grown back. So, here we go. Maybe I can cover that little dodgy bit up. It's okay. Because I can use pencil or something later. So start on pale on the lid with a fluffy brush, which is this one. So dig out, there we go. Pale on the lid with a fluffy brush. Let's get my impossible to open makeup. There we are. Starting with pale on the lid. So I'm going to take that right over across the whole area there. I'm going to do this one as well. Actually not too bad with this small mirror. I can actually see what I'm doing, which is nice. I'm not entirely into the massive eyebrows that they're quite fashionable at the moment. Right. So deeper on outside of lid and crease. So deeper one than that. Darker and darker. Okay. So I'm doing a kind of smoky eyes thing, we're attempting to. Bringing that out. Bring that out there. Let's bring that out there. Lid and crease. I'm going to need a smaller brush for this. So and into the crease of my eye, which is interesting. My eyes are very deeply sunk, so it don't show. Maybe if I, yeah, there we go. And bring that out over there. Seems darker on this side. Also seems quite patchy and rough, but never mind. Is that okay? Okay, darker again. So dark again this time, more or less on the lid, but not really anywhere else. This does look messy. Now Brandy Nitty, who I've taken this from as well, is considerably younger than me and probably doesn't have a great lot in the way of wrinkles. I, on the other hand, at 55, have a lot of wrinkles. And the very darkest bit right on the edge, so bring it out. Not, that's all over the show and looks really rubby. Maybe I can repair it. We'll see. So yeah, so Athena doesn't need to look like a drag queen because a drag queen is comedic. Athena needs to look relatively feasible. I wonder if I can put more of that concealer on this. Let's do that. And then I'll dab it down. This has taken more than half an hour already, which is astonishing. No wonder some women take a very long time to get ready in the morning. Does that look a bit pale on the chin? It does look a bit pale. Maybe with better makeup. Okay, so now I'm going to use an eyebrow pencil. No, I'm not. I'm going to use that. I'm going to use an actual pencil when I find the thing. I've got a mascara as well, but I don't think I'm going to use that. I'm just going to use the pencil to darken brows and eyelids. So let's have a look. I'm not entirely sure how well this is working. Let's put some line on the eyes. Gender non-conformity is something that actually interests me in that what are the things one should and shouldn't be doing according to one's gender? And these things, how these things seem to change over time. So, for instance, when I was a kid, men didn't moisturise. Now, there are men's moisturisers. My dad tells me that lager used to be a woman's drink. Now it's a male football hooligan's drink, apparently. And that men didn't wear perfumes. And then, of course, aftershave was invented. So there's a certain masculization of feminine things in order to make them acceptable to men. So where is the border there? There's another thing one does. It's calling it a man something. So wear your hair in a bun and it's called a man bun. Wear a bag and it's called a man bag, and that makes it acceptable to men, apparently. Which sounds very strange to me. But apparently I'm not a normal man. Now then. This is fun because I have very thin lips. Let's use the little mirror again. Well, I'm quite definitely thinking the eyebrows are a disaster. But we'll see. Right. Now, I haven't actually got what I would consider a feminine style top for Thena to wear. So what I've got at the moment is a man's shirt. But it is my fanciest man's shirt, so I'll put that on. And we'll fasten it up to avoid any chest hair showing. It's interesting because I wonder why it's masculine to be hairy. I know men grow better beards than women, obviously, but is it that obvious? Because there are women with beards and they don't look like men, they look like women with beards. Smudged. It's a bit pink actually, but yeah. Okay. They don't look like men, they look like women with beards. So, why is that covering up the hairiness, showing feminine rather than masculine? There's another thing as well, which is the hair. Now, I'm going to check on my hair. Now, should I have it? I'm thinking of a more feminine style. Now, long wavy hair, which I've not always had it long, but long wavy hair has generally be considered an attractive feminine trait. Now, I know lots and lots of women with short hair, and they don't look less like women and more like men. They look like women with short hair. So that presentation is a strange thing. So I quite like the off to one side thing. I haven't got any Thena jewellery either, which is a shame. I may have to try and find some, but it's difficult to find something to go into stretched earlobes. Finally, at nearly 40 minutes to having done this, I'm going to finish off by putting on Thena's glasses. This is the finishing touch. So, one thing, I also haven't thought of Thena's voice, but we'll see what happens when I do this. That's nice, kind of covers up the disaster eyebrows, which is a start. So, good morning everybody. My name is Thena. I am the academic persona in Sean's PhD project. And it's very nice to meet everybody.